Thank you for joining us for Small Talks for Big Change, where we help simplify financial topics to help with your financial wellness. Welcome, everybody. Today we are joined by a very, very special guest to me. We have Nick Gates, who is a certified financial specialist with Patelco Credit Union. But I do want to give a little bit of context to Nick Gates. So Nick has been with Patelco for about 8 years, and he and I actually started together. Well, he started when I was working at the Concord branch. We came up in the Concord branch together. We worked together for about 2 years. I think I was still a teller when you were hired. And yeah, I just remember learning a lot from Nick when we were in our Concord days. I remember listening to him, help his members in his desk, and he would always be so thoughtful, ask very helpful questions, was always really genuinely caring about the members' financial health and well-being. And as of now, like I said, he's a certified financial specialist, so his specific job duties are to do just that, sit down with members and really help them with their financial struggles, whatever they may be. And we are very, very excited to talk to Nick today about all the ins and outs of his CFS duties, things that people are kind of struggling with budgeting, and his wonderful pearls of wisdom. So Nick, welcome to the podcast studio.
Thank you very much. Also a small correction, enterprise certified financial
What's the
specialist.
difference between enterprise and regular?
So the certified financial specialists, most of them are assigned to branches, which means that they also have branch duties.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll be on the teller line. Sometimes they will be vault tellers. Sometimes they'll just have to balance things and audit things like anybody else at the branch does.
Sure.
But because I'm an enterprise certified financial specialist, all I do is financial counseling.
Oh my God, you're free as a bird.
And I do it for several branches.
Okay.
So I am the enterprise certified financial specialist for the 6 branches in the Sacramento area.
Okay.
And there are 3 other enterprise certified financial specialists, and each of them have a specific region.
They each have regions? Okay, so anybody who's our members can reach out to any one of our enterprise CFSs if they need to do so.
Correct.
Beautiful.
We're always here to help.
All right. Well, Nick, I gave you a little intro, but I would like you to kind of introduce yourself, if you would. So talk about your time at Patelco, your previous financial experience, what you do, all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, yes. So I've worked for Patelco for about 8 years, although I've worked in the credit union world since 2010.
Okay.
And Patelco is the 3rd credit union I've worked at. I came out of Educators Credit Union, which is based in Racine, Wisconsin, which is a great credit union. So if you're ever in Wisconsin, specifically southeastern Wisconsin, Educators is great. I still have my Educators account. If we were in the same market, we would definitely all be friends together.
Nice.
And also compete. But that I spent 6 years in various branches there. Milwaukee is where I came from, and that's where all of my credit union branches were at. Milwaukee is a bit like Berkeley and Oakland if you put it in the Midwest, I guess.
Okay.
You're going to get comments about that. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
But it has a really mix of like really well off, really poor people, people in the middle, lots of students, lots of people who are new to the country. Anything that you can find here, you can find in Wisconsin.
Runs the gamut, yeah.
So I started at a branch on the north side of Milwaukee, which the equivalent in the Bay Area would be like East Oakland.
Okay.
Worked for the longest time, and the east side, which again would be like Rockridge in Oakland, something like that. And then went back to the north side of Milwaukee for about 1.5 years. So I really saw pretty much everything that you could see.
Yeah.
The one thing that really made an effect on me is that the north side of Milwaukee is a very poor area.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of challenges that mean that people have credit challenges because of that. So that was sort of my training. That's how I got sort of thrown into the certified financial specialist world, or just the world of financial health and well-being.
Yeah.
Where people had huge issues.
Yeah.
So for example, my branch was next to the zip code 53206, which is one of the poorest zip codes in the Midwest. So in 53206, half of the male population had either been in prison or was currently in prison.
Wow.
So you just imagine of the many problems that happened because of that were financial issues. So working with people like that, trying to re-enter and getting them back into the world was something that I did too. And one thing that I'd like to talk about is that one of my branches that I help work with a prison re-entry. So I get a lot of clients who are new to the world after 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
And trying to get them back into. But like you said, I worked at the Concord branch too. So I've been a teller, I've been a personal banker, and then I've been a CFS, a certified financial specialist, since 2021.
Beautiful. All kinds of member-facing roles that you've had. So let's actually dive into what the certified financial specialist or CFS duties are. I kind of one blind spot that I think that we have, I wouldn't even call it a blind spot, but like in my line of work, we talk a lot about how to create a budget, how to build credit, how credit's calculated, all that good stuff. And I think that that's all fine and good. And those are really useful skills that a lot of people need foundationally. But I think that there are a lot of people, I would put myself kind of in this category, who's like, okay, cool, I know how to do it, but I have problems with actually like putting pen to paper and making it happen, whether it be creating the motivation, building momentum. There are people who have neurodivergence, who have money trauma, like you said, reentry populations, any kind of roadblock or barriers that can, I think, prevent people from actually actualizing the like how-to skills for creating a budget, building credit, whatever it may be. And that, I think that's where CFS services come in a lot. So can you talk a little bit about what you do as a CFS and how that kind of goes hand in hand with that?
Sure. So the question you're asking is actually rather a big answer. So I'll do my best to like distill it and make it as useful as I can.
Appreciate
because what we do is basically work with people, and the problems and solutions are just as diverse as any person. But I'll start with the four things that the certified financial specialist world does is that we work with credit, we work with budget, we work with savings, and we work with debt management.
Okay.
And I'm going to add a fifth, which is not part of our marketing material, but just financial education in general. So just think of like all the questions that anybody can have about that. So a really typical thing that I'm going to have that people come to me with, I want to build my credit, or how do I pay off this debt? Nothing seems to work.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready for a big move, and how can I prepare for my finances so that I can save up all this money? Or just how do I rebuild my credit? Those are like just some really representative things, but like they can always be complicated.
Sure.
So one of the things that I do as a CFS is try my best to find the root causes of whatever like people's issues are having. And of course, a lot of these root causes are going to be just far beyond what I can do. Like, I'm not a psychologist.
Sure.
I'm not an economist.
Yeah, your accreditations are limited.
But like my job is finding that, and at least if I can't work on those solutions, I can at least say, well, here's a problem. This is why you're doing the thing you don't want to do, or like this is why you're not doing the thing you want to do, and then try to address that. Like, here's an example. I was working with a member who could not cap her spending at all. She could not control it. And when I was looking in depth, I had found that like she was spending a lot on her kids. I'm like, I'm a dad. I get it. I know what that is. And I'm like, do you really have to spend that much on your kids? Like, I get it. You should be spending money on your kids. You should be supporting them and making them have a good childhood. But like, she was not moderating this at all.
Sure.
But like talking to her, like as a person, which is like what I do as a CFS, is that like she was competing with her ex-husband for the affection of her children. And I'm like,
okay.
And of course, like I'm trying to ask questions so that like I don't tell her that that she comes to that conclusion by herself. And I'm like, okay.
Interesting.
So usually my question like that is like, do you have somebody you can talk to about this?
Okay.
Like that was her own root cause that kind of sticks in my brain because it was one of those things that's like, frankly, I struggle with sometimes.
Of course. And I'm sure it is a lot more powerful when you're able to like come to that conclusion, like you said yourself, instead of be told essentially that like that might be what you're struggling with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things about being a CFS is that like we get people to sort of examine their own selves, like, and their own, like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing this? And trying to tease that out to find out like what that root cause is.
Okay.
Whether it's like impulse control or just like you don't know how things work, which is a big thing of my job, or just anything else like that.
Yeah. So it sounds like a typical CFS session is like half maybe teaching practical tools and things like that, and half like financial counseling, financial therapy in a way.
Yeah, I think that's kind of fair.
Okay.
Remember, like, everybody comes with a different problem set. So, like, sometimes it'll be like, I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
That's really common when I help, like, younger people who are, like, 18, 19, 20, and are trying to build their credit.
Yeah.
And they come to me and say, like, I don't have any education about this at all. How does it work? How do I build my credit?
Yeah.
That's my job, is trying to tease things out and explain things to them.
For sure.
Or sometimes it's people who, like, I've been trying to pay off my credit cards. I don't use my credit cards, but I still pay on them faithfully. What am I doing wrong? So part of my job is finding strategies and working things in budgets so that they can reorganize and reallocate their money. That might be part of what I'm doing. Or just showing people what's on their credit report. That might be another thing here too.
Yeah. So you're talking about like some of the common struggles and things that you're running into right now as a CFS. I'll speak for myself. I recently was going through the mental health department at Kaiser Permanente, and I was diagnosed with what is called predominantly inattentive ADHD, which is what used to be called just good old-fashioned ADD, but they've like graduated the terminology now, I guess. And I thought it was really interesting because when I was going through a lot of the questionnaires for that, so many of the questions on there were like, do you have a hard time sticking to a plan? Do you have a hard time with overspending? Do you struggle with like impulse control with money and things like that? And in talking to like my ADHD coach when I was going through this process, it was kind of a big light bulb moment because they were saying like ADHD can severely affect like executive functioning, things like impulse control, organization, sticking to like what some people might consider quote unquote tedious tasks, forgetting due dates, all kinds of stuff like that. And that's just, I think, one aspect of it. I mean, we talked earlier about, how you've helped people who are reentry or like formerly incarcerated. There are people who have anxiety around money, depression. There are some people who just have money trauma with like how they were raised. So can you, I guess, extrapolate a little bit more about some of the other maybe like big picture common struggles that you see people dealing with, and maybe some in a very general sense, because I know everyone's situation is much more specific, but in a general sense, like what kinds of advice you give them in like a mindset perspective? Like how do you kind of work on getting people to change the way they think or change their relationship with money in relation to the struggles that they're facing?
Sure. Can I use you as like
an
example?
Let's
pretend that you're someone who's
having a CFS coaching session.
We're having
right
a CFS coaching right now. And of course, we don't want to have all your personal stuff on a podcast. But let's say if somebody comes to me and say, like, I have ADHD and I don't know how to manage my money. I'm like, okay, well, let's find some solutions.
Okay.
I guess my first like disclaimer is that like a lot, like I don't know how your brain works.
Right.
And that's kind of why I like to have recurring sessions so we can figure out what works and what doesn't. But in my introductory session, I'm going to say, like, we're going to throw some stuff at the wall and we're going to see what sticks. But we're going to start with something like, well, if you don't make a plan, what's worked in the past and what doesn't work when you try to make plans.
Okay.
So, for example, I'd say, like, well, Andrew, you have ADHD, but you clearly you're successful. You've worked at Patelco for longer than I have. What have you done so that you can organize your own like professional life so that you can be the success you are now? And what can we take from that so that we can put some organization into the financial life?
Interesting. Okay.
That might be where I'd start.
Yeah.
Or I might say, like, can you buy a planner? Or let's see what your calendar looks like. Or would it help if I called you once a week and asked how you were doing financially?
Do you have members who like just appreciate to have check-in calls like that? And that's a service that also comes in like the CFS umbrella?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think the other CFSs might have their own spin on that.
Sure.
But if I can call you once a week and just ask, so how are you doing?
How's it going?
What do you spend money on?
Yeah.
Like, what were you successful at? Like, if I can help you just by putting that in your brain and just being your little conscience there,
for sure,
then that's great. Then if that helps, then absolutely. In fact, the person that I'm talking to after this podcast is a person who asked me to call her once a week.
Just wants the check-ins?
Who actually herself has shared her diagnosis of ADHD.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, okay, well, as long as I can just be there.
Put her onto this podcast.
Maybe. But that's the kind of thing that I would do in that case. But I think a lot of our financial sort of structures and institutions have to be broad enough for the entire country. So there's no one, but of course one size doesn't fit all.
It wouldn't work for something like this.
So that's what I do is I try to help people with something that does fit.
Yeah.
So that we can make it work for them.
I like that because we talk a lot when we're discussing tips and tricks for creating or sticking with a budget or whatever about having an accountability partner. And it sounds like the CFS services are essentially a built-in, accountability partner that is offered to you by your trusted financial institution, Patelco Credit Union.
Exactly. And if that, like I said, if that's what works for you,
yeah,
absolutely, then I will. That's why they pay me the moderate bucks.
So I like that. So if we have a member or someone who's listening to this who's like, yeah, that sounds great, I would, like to take advantage of this. Can you kind of walk me through the process of like the first step they would take to getting in contact with a CFS, and then like what the process might look like from that point forward as far as like meeting cadence or things like that? Just like a little bit of an overview on how the whole CFS process works from like beginning to, having recurring meetings.
Sure. So basically the first thing that we would do is just ask for help.
Yeah.
Because I can't know that you need help until you ask for it. And there's a lot of ways that we can do that. So we have a link on our website, patelco.org/financial-wellness /personalized-advice.
Okay.
Or go to patelco.org and look for the financial well-being and personalized advice.
There's
That'll
like
get
a little
straight
tab
to me.
there. Yeah.
You can call our contact center, 800-358-8228. You can stop by your local branch where you can ask for personalized financial advice, and that'll go straight to me or the other ECFSs.
Okay.
And you can tell us what you need. Just like a little note so I know like where to begin. And saying, I don't know what help I need, but I know it's not working for me. That's something I can work with.
Awesome.
Or you can go to a branch and just ask somebody face-to-face. That happens a lot of times. But then they'll get into contact with either a branch CFS or an enterprise CFS like myself.
Okay.
What I'll usually do is call and say like, hey, so I heard you need some help. Can we schedule some time to like, so that we can set like an hour where we can talk and figure out what's going on and what we can do. And then usually I'll, call and say hello, and then have something where we can set some time aside, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
So sometimes people will just have a question, and sometimes it'll be a quick meeting, and they're like, okay, that's great. You got it, whatever.
And it's a one and done?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Or if you need something else, then we'll be like, how can I help you next? What would you like next? When I'm a CFS coach, I really want to make it so that the members of the people that I'm helping are the boss, like they're in charge. So whatever's going to be useful for you, I will do my best. If you need that weekly check-in, I can do that. If you want me to like check in 90 days to see like if what we've done worked, then I'll do that here too. Like I said, the solutions that we have are going to be just as varied as
the people that you're helping.
The people we help. Like I have a few people that I've been working with for like a year about how they spend, how they budget, how they have their credit. Sometimes like I really will just like meet somebody once and answer their question and be like, that was great. Thank you for help. And then I'll never see them again.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have talked to people in like 2023 and they will come back and say like, hey, you remember me from like 2 years ago? I'm like, oh yeah, I remember you. And I'd be happy to help you again.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like I said, because like we have the time and we have the flexibility, like we can do pretty much in terms of like organization. That's what we're here for.
That's awesome. I think a lot of people sometimes get overwhelmed by the idea of reaching out for help. And so it's really nice that we are able to really like customize the experience to whatever they feel comfortable receiving or whatever they feel like they have the capacity to get at the time.
Yeah. And I think that's something I wanted to talk about here too.
Yeah.
I don't know if now is the good time, but like we have a lot of like sort of shame wrapped in with this. A lot of times we put our own self-worth
1,000%.
And we wrap that up with our financial worth, which like to me, who has worked in credit, for 15 years, like nothing could be farther from the truth.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Money is just a tool, but like what you are as a person, like the things that you value, those are the important things. Money's just a tool to get you there. And money is important, but I don't want to judge people. Of all the things that I could judge people with, money is the very last one thing.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with your character or who you are like as a person.
Yeah, that was one of those things that really early in my career, working on the north side of Milwaukee, people would be like, well, thank you for treating me like a person. Yeah. Oh, you mean the bar is that low? Oh.
But that's the sad thing is that the bar, I think for a lot of people, they do feel like it is that low because that's just the society we live in, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think the biggest barrier is like, I'm so embarrassed about this.
Yeah.
I've never talked to any about this. I'm like, that's fine. And I get it because like there are plenty of things that I have wrapped up in my own self-worth that I am embarrassed to talk to about.
Sure. We all have it.
Like you should like talk to my like the people at my A&E healthcare provider. You know that like I am really reluctant to like go and see somebody about that. But I will say I'm doing better and I have some things scheduled.
Progress. That's what's important. And this is just to, add additional benefits here. A totally free service that we offer to our members.
For sure.
Yeah. That's the credit union way. We're not charging for your help. We want to make sure that everyone is on the path to finding. Is that my camera? That's my camera. Everyone is on the path to financial health and wellness here at Patelco Credit Union. So
I'm actually going to go further and say if I took money for this, I think I would get into serious trouble.
Probably.
I think my threshold would be like if you make me a plate of cookies, that would be borderline, but I'd still take that.
All right. Do you have any, again, general big picture, because everyone's situation is going to be different and therefore everyone's recommendations will be different. But like you mentioned earlier, can you buy a planner? What other kind of practical, tangible, general strategies as far as apps, tools, things like that, do you find yourself frequently recommending to your members?
Sure. A lot of it is, can you just talk to the people who are important to you about this? Especially people who are part of a family and of a partnership. Just talking, if being open and honest with your spouse is going to help you, then that's a very common recommendation. Is just talk about this. Don't keep it a secret.
Yeah,
it's not something shameful. It's something that's just part of life. So talk to your friends, talk to your partner about your struggles. I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I would probably bet that the people who are important to you have struggles too about this sort of thing. That's one of my general things. My other general piece of advice I'm going to give for everybody is pay attention. Okay. If you can pay attention to your spending, if you can pay attention to what you buy and what your spending habits are, that's going to be a huge life changer. Think of all the advertising, think of all the apps that you can spend money on. Think of all the things that are trying to get you to spend money on them. And a lot of it is like strategies for you to not pay attention so that you can spend money on it. But if you can look and reflect and be conscious about what you're doing, that will be a huge life changer for you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like that's actually one of my big problems is that when I show people their spending, this is how much you're spending on X, Y, and Z, they're like,
I had no idea.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Once I had a member who was like, I don't know where all my money's going. I'm like, okay, well, let me look through your account if I have your permission.
Right.
I can do a deep dive. And it turns out he was spending $10,000 on gambling.
Oh no.
That's exactly what I spent. This guy had no idea. And this is like one of the bigger examples.
Yeah.
But something like that is just really, really common.
Yeah.
Especially like food. Food is the number one thing that everybody spends too much money on. I'm going to say that I spend too much money on too. Like I stopped for coffee twice on the way here.
It was a long drive, to be fair.
It was about an hour and a half. Okay. That's right. I'm coming from Davis going to Dublin, so that's my excuse. But just looking at how much people like spend on DoorDash, how much they spend on McDonald's, it's something that everybody does because it's like a physical sensation that you want to control. So I can control this by spending money, and then they come to me and they're like, I have to say, look at how much you're spending on food. Do you want to be spending this much on food? And most people are like, oh no, no, please no.
Yeah. One thing that I recommend a lot of people whenever I'm giving like budgeting workshops for people who do feel like the idea of sitting down and putting pen to paper is too overwhelming is just check your account balance every day. Just log on to online banking and just look at what your balance is, because I feel if you're not checking it daily, it's very easy for the money to go and you not see that it went. But at least if you're keeping it front of mind, you have a better picture of the rate in which money is leaving your account. And it might, help you take pause in some capacity.
Yeah, and I think that, like what you're talking about, I think is really important.
Yeah.
Because people will not want to self-reflect, and I get it. Like that's looking at what you're doing is actually really hard.
Yeah.
But if you can get over that, or like even get help, which is what I do, is help you like look at what you want to look at. That first step will help you if that's the thing that you're worried about.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Nicholas Gates, I have one final question for you.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you what your golden nugget of this podcast episode is, and this can be a like a quote. It can be one like prevailing piece of advice. It can be you just emphasizing something you've talked about earlier. But what is the one stamp or the one overarching tagline signed by Nicholas Gates that you would like to put on your time with us here today?
My piece of advice, and I think I mentioned this before, is that you are more important than your money.
I like that.
The people that you are important to, the things that you enjoy, whatever's important to you, that's the important thing. Money is just a tool to get there. Money is like way down in your list of priorities. Your first one is going to be your kids, your family, your friends, yourself, and that's the way it ought to be.
Yeah, your values. I like that. So if anybody who is listening is interested in taking advantage of our CFS/ECFS services,
it's patelco.org/financial-wellness /personalized-advice.
Okay.
Or go to patelco.org and look for the financial well-being and personalized advice.
There's
That'll
like
get straight
tab
to me.
there. Yeah.
You can call our contact center, 800-358-8228. You can stop by your local branch.
And if you are watching this on YouTube, check that pinned comment to connect with the CFS. All right. Well, Nicholas, it's been a wonderful time today. I've had a great time talking with you. I feel like the CFS services are honestly something I could probably even take advantage of. I don't feel like my money struggles, I feel like they've gotten a lot better in recent years, but it sounds like anybody could use an accountability partner. Anybody could use some sort of helping hand if they're struggling in some capacity or another. So I appreciate you coming on and talking about them with us.
Thank you. And I will say that I've also helped my coworkers here too.
Oh,
so
nice.
You don't have to be in dire financial straits to ask for help. I think of myself as a family doctor and think of all the times you've seen your own family doctor.
Yeah.
So please come and see us. You will not waste our time, nor will you waste yours.
We had Jen Mink and Lauren Goucher here last time, and they were talking about the idea of like a financial checkup. And now we have our financial family doctor here. So full circle moment, you guys. All right. Thank you all for listening. That is going to do it for Small Talks for Big Change today, where we help simplify financial topics to help with your financial wellness. We will see you next time. Patelco Credit Union is insured by NCUA. Hey, you guys, hope you liked that video. Thank you for watching. For more financial wellness information, go ahead and click here to subscribe and here to watch the next video. Thank you.